Well, you guys read the title, and since I know you clicked on this video to find out, the short answer is yes. And the long answer is, probably still yes. Chainsaw Man is one of the most highly acclaimed manga of all time. It's won numerous awards for its excellence over the years, so it's only a matter of time until it was finally adapted into an anime series. Chainsaw Man is pretty well known, but compared to other hype shonen series, surprisingly few people have actually read it. However, those who have read this series are obsessed with it, and for good reason. There's a lot to love with Chainsaw Man, and if the anime had somehow failed to adapt the series properly, the studio would have had hell to pay, as those who like this series really like it. So because of that, Chainsaw Man's anime had an insane amount of care and attention put into it, and it shows. Every scene of this series bleeds style and character, just like the original manga. But even with all of the good reviews going around about this series, I still wasn't quite sure whether it was worth watching when the manga seemed to provide such a whole experience on its own. But let me tell you, as soon as I watched episode 1, my doubts were instantly quelled. The first thing you may notice when watching Chainsaw Man is the production quality. This series is being done by MAPPA, one of the most highly acclaimed studios in the anime industry. As a studio, MAPPA has always pushed the envelope in terms of the quality they can put in their works, but for the past few years, it seems like they just keep on getting better and better. Starting with God of High School's impressive production, followed by Jujutsu Kaisen's release, and then with MAPPA taking over Attack on Titan, the studio has been on a steady track to being one of the most consistently special studios in the anime scene. And looking at the trailers for the show, you can tell MAPPA was going all out for this. But now that 2 episodes of this show have finally been released, we finally got a chance to see the full splendor of it, and goddamn does this show not disappoint. Episode 1 is animated gorgeously. This show has a slightly grungy feel to it, with a lot of the background and locales being gloomy and dull, but the character animation just oozes, well, character. Every single motion feels like it had just as much work put into it as the long fight sequences. And those fight scenes that we do see are incredible. Like, I can already say this show has some of the best fight choreography in anime, and we've only gotten to see one proper full-length fight. Denji, the main character, isn't a natural-born fighter. He mostly has practice of going against weak demons that don't really put up much of a fight. So when we finally see him go all out at the end of episode 1, his fighting style is clearly unwieldy. He doesn't have much grace or elegance, and there's a lot of excess movements, which, yeah, would make sense from somebody in Denji's position. To add to that, the music through episode 1 is sparse but perfectly utilized. Through most of episode 1 and 2, there isn't much background music. There's usually just some ambient noise going on in the background or some really dull muted music playing over some of the more introspective scenes. But even without the constant presence of music, the show still captures your attention. The emptiness you feel throughout puts emphasis on the dialogue and animation, and also fills you with a bit of unease about the coming story. And when a song does start playing at the emotional climax of episode 1, it hits so much harder. You feel so much more because of how little music there was throughout the episode, and in the same way, the action scene at the end of the show feels so much more intense because of the music that plays over it. Just generally, this production has been flawless so far, and I have high hopes as to the future of this series. And going a bit into spoilers here, watch out, this anime has been mostly faithful to the source material as well. Apparently there's a scene in episode 2 that was skipped in the anime with a separate devil called the Muscle Devil fighting Denji for a little bit, but I didn't even notice its absence, to be honest, since the way that the story is paced in the anime felt natural and appropriate. And according to the people that pointed this out, the scene wasn't even too important anyways, and allowed for the show to include more stuff in episode 2, including the debuts of 2 fan-favorite characters. Aside from that though, there were basically no deviations from Chainsaw Man's original story in this adaptation. I would love to go further, but I wanted this to be like kind of a quick little video just letting people know that Chainsaw Man is indeed worth watching. I would love to spend a lot more time dissecting the series and adaptation, but I think that'll have to wait until after it finishes airing. Right now though, I wanted to make a quick little video on this series since I personally used to be unsure on whether or not I should be keeping up with Chainsaw Man obsessively, and I wanted to make sure other people know that it's worth checking out too. And also Chainsaw Man hype. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!